All right, let's let everybody in here. Welcome, everyone.
Hello, hello.
And so good to see beautiful faces popping on in. Welcome to abundance selling versus scarcity selling. I love that this topic is resonating. Awesome. As you come in, just letting everybody in here, share in the chat where are you coming in from and what is resonating with you about this topic. Why did you, Ian and I were just talking about how awesome it is that we can like share an invitation to this a couple days before and people rearrange their schedules to come on and talk. I know this is important. There we go. I know this is an important conversation, but we want to hear what's resonating with you about this, what spoke to you. You're here with us on a Friday morning or Friday afternoon or Friday at night, depending on your time zone. And we are grateful for you being here live with us. And we want to honor that today and cover, let's see, Ian, what we're seeing here in the chat. Okay.
Columbia representing Daniel. What's up? Hiring slowed down a lot. Challenging economy. I'm curious why abundant selling you think will help you in a challenging economy.
Yeah, I think he's smart to know it will, but I'm curious with you, Ian, like what's connecting the dots there? Oh, Asheville.
I think in a challenging economy, people get desperate, they get needy, they get like, I have to get the sale because there's not much opportunity, and that actually repels people. So when you don't feel actually as attached to the outcome, a lot of times that can drive the outcomes you want. So it makes it easier to sell in a challenging economy versus, oh my gosh, no buying. What do? I need to get this deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's do this. Let's go ahead. Shout out to everyone popping in. If you're coming in here now live, we're so glad to have you. Type in the chat where you're coming in from and what is resonating about this topic. Why are you here with us on a Friday when you could be doing any number of things? Tell us what is speaking to you about abundance versus scarcity selling. We want to serve you today. Ian, do you want to take a moment and introduce yourself? I'll introduce myself and then we'll kick things off.
I need diaper money. Congrats, Pavan, on having a baby.
Yeah.
I like that. People want to sell more, essentially, learn new sales techniques. I'm Ian Koniak. I'm CEO of Untap Your Sales Potential, and I spent 20 years in tech sales, and now I get to coach salespeople on how to sell in a abundant, outward-facing, service-oriented manner, which actually makes you sell a lot more when you use that approach.
100%, 100%. And if I could just say, because I have the pleasure of knowing Ian personally, amazing family man, one of the best in the business that you'll ever meet, like truly heart of gold. I'm not like trying to embarrass you. And I'm just saying, like, I think what's cool is what we get to do today is talk about how embodying these concepts of abundance and generosity will actually create way more revenue and way more sales for you. So it's a both and,
It really does.
Which is really fun. And which I think kind of flips the paradigm that so many of us have been taught on its head of like, to get ahead in sales, you have to hustle, force, compete. You've got to do things that are unethical. Like there's just so much that's taught that isn't true. And so it's just, Ian, I think you embody what we're talking about today, which is
Thank you.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, and you too. It's ironic, right? The less you need something, the more likely it is to manifest, and the more attached you are to it, like getting it, oftentimes that makes it that much more unattainable. So 100%. It's a bit ironic how this stuff works out. I see a lot of familiar faces. If anybody wants to go on camera, you are certainly welcome to. Corey, Teresa, I see you guys there. If not, no worries at all. But that's always good. It's always good to see faces on these things.
Great.
Cool. Yeah. We got people representing Hudson Valley, New York, London. Karen just worked on her business full time. Congratulations, Karen. Welcome to the other side. Idaho. People want sales coaching, and yeah. Well, thank you for considering my program, Jason. Hopefully, we can give you a lot of value, regardless of whether you decide to join. So, nice to see everyone. Cool. Well, I think we're filling up pretty good. So I don't know if you're ready to kick it off.
Yeah, let's kick off. Absolutely. I'll do a quick, I'll introduce myself super quick and then we'll kick off. And we do, who here was here for the last joint training we did? Did anybody join for that? Mindset and Habits of Sales Champions. This was like months and months ago. If you were here, then we like to keep it interactive. So we'll be monitoring the chat. I'd love if you have questions on what we're talking about, pop it in the chat. We are going to aim to have time for some live conversation and coaching with those of you who are here live too. So I always think that's fun. So yeah, I'm Elise Archer. I'm the founder and CEO of She Sells and Superhuman Selling. And I think my heart and my mission is similar to Ian's, slightly different with my own angle on it, but spent many, many years in corporate, hustling and grinding my way to the top. Did a lot of what we're going to talk about today is not the right way to sell, but that was how I was taught and brought up. And found myself in my mid-20s, looking on the outside like I was doing great, having it all together, but on the inside, struggling a ton with anxiety, panic attacks, eating disorders, scarcity mindset, all of it. Changed my life with the concepts we're going to talk about today. Sales results skyrocketed, and my passion now is empowering sales professionals and entrepreneurs to have quantum leaps in sales and income, but doing it with these concepts that we're talking about today. So let's get into it. So Ian, why don't we just talk about abundance selling versus scarcity selling and what that means to you?
Well, as you're talking, before I define it, you have to ask yourself, what is sustainable? Can you see yourself working the way that you're working right now in 20 years? If the answer is no, then something's got to give, right? So when I think about you talking about eating disorders or anxiety or any of these, I'll call them mental health challenges, I see this across sales, all at minimum, high levels of stress, high levels of anxiety, and people take that home to their families. It influences their work. And it certainly did for me. I struggled with addiction. I would work really hard, grind, hustle, and then I just had nothing left in the tank, and I would want to escape to you name it, I did it. Right? And that was the pattern, work hard, play hard for 15 years in sales, and until it got me into recovery. And frankly, it wasn't sustainable. And so when you think about abundant selling versus scarcity-based selling is like, I need to hit my quota. I need to, there's pressure. I got to perform. I got to grind it out. And ultimately, my goal is to make as much money as possible, get to the top of the leaderboard, and get results. It's a very inward focused way of selling where you are attached to your outcomes. Abundant selling is, I don't need anything. Okay. I'm here to serve. I'm here to help my clients. And if they don't want to work with me and they don't see value, it's their loss. It is literally shifting from a neediness to a service outward focus where you are not attached to the outcome. The only thing you're attached to is helping your clients. And if they don't want, need, or are willing to work with you to get help, on to the next. So that's kind of how I think about scarcity versus abundant, is service oriented versus inward, self-serving oriented.
Yeah. I love that so much. And I'll share a thought, Ian, on what you said. And then I also would just love for those of you live, if you want to share in the chat, like, where do you feel like you are right now? And there's no shame. If you feel like you're in a scarcity selling mindset, it's how we're conditioned. I think it's how most people are taught to sell. It's how I did it for so many years, because it's the only thing I knew. But everything changed when I learned to do it a different way. So I would just be curious to kind of get a temperature read, maybe like scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is full abundance selling, like Ian just shared, and 1 is I'm aware that I'm currently in scarcity selling. Like, where are you right now? I will say one other thing that I think shifts a lot when we're making this transition from scarcity to abundant selling is, where are you getting your validation? And this is so important. And I remember I was coaching a private client a while back who he wanted to hit $1 million in his business. And I just was like, why? I'm just curious why. And he sat back and really thought about it. And to his credit, he was super honest. And he said, you know what, I think I'll finally feel good enough then. So when we are placing our worth, our self-worth on sales numbers, revenue numbers, results, that is 100% scarcity selling, because there's a gap and a separation, right? We're creating a gap and a separation between us and our goals. And we're saying, when I am there, then I will be good enough. Then I will be valid. Then I will be worthy. and we're always chasing. It's never enough in that energy. So to Ian's point, when you come from the standpoint of, I am always good no matter what, like I am good enough no matter what, and I have validation, I validate myself. That can be through your spiritual connection, whatever that looks like for you. From that place of wholeness and already being enough, we can tap into an energy of abundance in our selling where we don't feel like we have to chase in order to be good enough. And it's interesting. And, Ian, we'll see how far we want to go down the rabbit hole today. But from that energy, you'll find that you draw in and attract way more, but you don't feel like you need it. Ian, is there anything you would add to that?
Yeah, you're spot on. I think the question of where do you get your self-worth from is one that people, and certainly I needed to come to grips with, because if I wasn't hitting my number, I felt like a failure. And it took me missing quota 3 years in a row, looking in the mirror and not even recognizing myself before I realized something had to change. And I'll tell you, the shift that we're going to teach you how to make today got me to number one at Salesforce. And it was nothing to do with my selling skills. Ironically, it was having to do with being a person and showing up in a way that I could feel proud of every single day. And when you're seeking external validation, and external validation is money, recognition, status, anything that's outside of you, right? It's always going to fall short because there's always someone doing better. There's always more money. There's always, a new year that you have to do it all over again. But when you find internal validation, which comes from connections, from growth, from contribution, from purpose, from feeling like you are actually living with integrity with your values and giving your all to something that you actually care about, you can sleep well at night. And again, we're kind of getting into that, but that's a separation from external. That's, I'm doing all I can. And what I find when I coach people, and I see this almost with everyone who starts in the program, is they are at a place where they're not upset because they're not hitting their numbers per se, or they're not hitting their goals. They're upset because they're actually not doing the things they promise themselves every single day. And they don't feel like they're giving 100% towards the areas that are most important. And there's so many reasons for that. It's not their fault. I think people are working very hard, but it's this feeling of the end of the day is here and I didn't do what I wanted to do. And it's this kind of vicious cycle. So that's really what it takes to get to a place where you can feel worthy is, did you put in a day where you feel proud of? Did you plan the day and execute the things that you actually need to do to control the controllables? And when you get to that place consistently over and over again, you're going to really get your worth from the efforts and from really addressing some of your challenges of how you show up. And at the end of the day, the results are a simple outcome of that way of working. But that's ultimately, if you look at any of the top coaches in the world, we're talking about Nick Saban at Alabama or Joe Walsh or, anyone, UCLA Bruins, it's always process. And people are chasing prize. And that's the challenge that I see is when you can just trust the process and show up consistently. You don't need to get that validation because you've already won, period. So I think we're jumping ahead a little bit, but it touches on what you're talking about is, where does your worth come from? And your worth should come from your effort and getting to a place where you really are doing all you can. And that's hard to get to because of habits and distractions and limiting beliefs and imposter syndrome, you name it, perfectionism. But that's ultimately the work that we're talking about here.
I love that. Well, and I think that actually ties in, and I see some great questions coming in the chat, so we're going to circle back to those. But I think that ties in with the next thing we wanted to talk about, Ian, which is, what is the application of this? So what does this actually look like to make that, like, how does abundance selling show up in your day, in your life? We'll talk next about how to make the shift, but how do we know if we're in abundance selling, and what does it look like even on a sales call or a DM and outreach? How do you?
Here's how it looks. Here's how it looks. Okay. No agenda. Your agenda is to actually see if you can help somebody. When you go on a discovery call with a client, when you actually like show up, it's, I don't know you. I'm not here to pitch my product. I actually want to learn about you and see where you're struggling, why you took the call, and see if we potentially can help you. And if so, great. We can talk about what that looks like, but I don't want to pitch or sell or show anything until I know your situation, because I'm here to serve. So let's talk about you and why you took this call. Where are you struggling? Tell me what the impact of your challenges are today. What are the outcomes you want? What are the metrics you want? It's all about them. We're talking 20% talking and 80% them talking, right? It's all really questions about them, their business, their role, what's not happening, and really digging deep. So the one word I would say is listening. Well, two words: curiosity and active listening. And when I say active listening, what that looks like is listening with the intention of understanding rather than the intention of replying. So if you're thinking about what you're going to say next based on what they say, your brain is already holding that thought versus actively listening and just being curious. So that's kind of like how it feels in a sales call. It feels like, hold on, let's get to the truth. Let's get to what someone tells me they're having a problem. I'm like, okay, so what? Why is it a problem? How do you feel about it? How's it impacting you? How long has it gone on for? Why do you want to change it now? It's literally 4, 5, 6, 7 questions to get to the truth, because if they don't really need help or want help, then let's not go down this road of demos and proposals and business cases. Let's really understand at the beginning why they're talking. This isn't a show and tell. This isn't get more information. We are here to help and to serve. And it's a very conversational motion about their business. And that's kind of how it feels on a sales call.
Yeah, absolutely. And something I want to talk through, because we're getting quite a few questions in the chat, which I think is a really good question. It's like, I get this, I know this, and there's requirements, there's quota that has to be met, there's pressure, economy, I've got to meet these numbers. How in the world do I balance that with being in this type of non-attached energy where, like, if it happens, it happens. If not, I'm good. I can speak, you speak first, and then I'll share kind of my own
I
experience.
want you to speak. I'm giving a lot of, I want to hear your take, because I know you have a lot to say on this. So why don't you take this?
Yeah. I mean, so I can't speak to this without pulling in spirit for me, like there's no way to do it without, because when I was so attached to the number and so attached to having to hit it, and that was my self-worth and my validation, it also was coming from a place of, that was the only place where I got my safety, my security, my validation, et cetera, was in external perception and what other people thought of me. For me, it involved going on a deeper spiritual journey of learning who I really was, getting my validation and self-worth from something completely outside of my numbers, which was inside of me, and my connection with my own, with my creator and how I see that. And then it helped me be very detached from the numbers, from that place, from that energy of detachment. I was able to shift the energy into one of, let me see how I can serve, because I actually realized I don't really need this person to buy from me to be okay. I don't need this money even to be okay, which I know can feel challenging when there is so much pressure, whether it's from corporate or whether it's from yourself. I think all pressure is really self-imposed. You can get pressure from outside, but you can decide whether you want to accept that or not. And then from that place of non-attachment, my sales improved dramatically. But it was an inner shift first. Ian, would you say the same thing? Or for me, it's kind of like an awakening.
Yeah, I would add to that. I think, again, when you hit a rock bottom, whether it's with anxiety or addiction or just feeling like just horrible and miserable because you're not performing, you get to a point where you say, something's got to give. I can't keep living or thinking this way because it's exhausting and it's not healthy, right? And that's kind of sometimes what it takes to get to. And when you go down that road and you find that there's a void that you can fill in a spiritual sense, absolutely, that's the foundation of everything, right? If you can show up with love and with service and with kindness, when you overcome those kind of behaviors that you're personally doing, you're so proud. And if I can do this, I can do anything. Sales is nothing. I mean, that's really how I felt when I was able to overcome addiction, and it was like, this is easy compared to that, right? Saving my marriage, wow, this is really bad. So I think that personal piece is really important, to like look at yourself in the mirror and really work on yourself and do that deep work, and that's foundational. And once you've kind of done that, there is the reality that sales is a performance sport, and you are paid to perform. If you do not perform, you do not keep your job. That's a reality. That's what we're all here. We signed up for it. Okay. And so I don't want to dismiss or minimize the pressure aspect and the quota aspect, because that's our job and we have to do it. So here's the way I think about that is, the pressure I put on myself is the pressure to give a full day every day and execute on revenue generating activities, plain and simple. If I'm spending 6 hours a day out of my 8 or 9 hours I work, either creating, advancing, or closing pipeline, my numbers will come. It's the pressure on being able to say no to distractions, say no to time stealers, say no to admin work that doesn't matter, say no to everyone else and everything else, so I can stay laser focused and say yes to my goals. And that's the only pressure that matters, because if I do that, the goals and the income's going to come, and it always does 100% of the time. I do not have a single client that doesn't hit their numbers when they focus 6-7 hours on RGAs. It's inevitable. It is inevitable. It's all the other stuff that gets in the way. The average seller spends 2 to 3 hours a day on RGAs. It's all this inability to say no, spending too much time on things, perfectionism, fear, whatever like those. It's the mental game. That's where people need the work. So if you work on the mental game of being able to actually work on your discipline, work on your focus, your time management, your planning, your facing your fears, getting to executives, all these things, the numbers are an outcome. So my philosophy on this is, once you're doing everything you can to do your job to the best of your ability, right? That's all you can do. Put the pressure on yourself to get the right inputs every day, to show up every day, to focus and to execute on what you actually said you're going to do. That's all you can put the pressure on, and the number's going to come. The number's external to you, okay? But how you show up and what you choose to do with your time, you control. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, this is not a mutually exclusive way of working. You have your quota here, and we're talking about how you engage with your clients and how you interact with people when we talk about abundant selling. So this has nothing to do with your quota. Okay, this has to do with how you show up for your clients in service. If you're needy and you're thinking about, I need to perform, you're not going to be thinking about them, because you're thinking about yourself first. So here's what I will tell you. There's a great quote called from Zig Ziglar, and he says, the best way to get what you want is to help others get what they want first. And that's what abundant selling is in a nutshell. It's really about understanding what other people want. What are the outcomes they want? What are the priorities they want? What are the goals they have? And how can you help them get it? Through use of your product and service and the expertise around making that customer successful in the areas that you can impact for them. That's what this is about. It's nothing more than that. So it's not mutually exclusive. If you sell this way and you approach this way, customers, you will win at 60 or 70% of your deals. You will, versus 20 to 30. Because you are going to understand more. You're going to go deeper. You're going to do the right thing. You're going to bring in partners. You're going to look at customer success. You're going to look at their situation a lot closer, versus jumping to demo, jumping to proposal before it's fully qualified. So I just think that the two are totally different. You just kind of got to ease the pressure and say, the pressure is on myself to do the right thing and help my clients. And then the results are going to be what they're going to be. And typically, again, they end up being wildly more than if you're just focused on closing, which kind of like, again, it's very salesy. Customers can smell the commission breath a mile away, and it ends up actually hurting your deals versus helping your deals.
Amen, amen, amen. I love it. I love it. I would add two things to that. I think that was so brilliant and such a a very tangible. Okay, I get this. I understand. It's on the let me focus on the work I'm putting in every day. I think two things that are important to remember are, number one, the energy in which you do a thing will determine the outcome of a thing. So if you are going into your sales calls and your conversations or your prospecting with an energy of scarcity, with an energy of fear, with an energy of not enoughness, you're going to get that back in your results. So if you can come into it with that energy of abundance, generosity, service, which by the way feels a heck of a lot better to you anyway than the others. So be kind to yourself, like giving yourself the gift of just being able to show up in that energy. You're going to feel better the whole way. You're going to get better results, but that's your results are going to be mirrored in that. So I'm very conscious of my energy when I'm going into a sales conversation or prospecting, or a webinar, whatever it is, just being so mindful of what's my state right now, because that's going to be mirrored back. You're going to pick up on that. That's going to be mirrored back. Your customers are going to feel that. And then the second thing, and this was really where I had to drop my ego. It was getting really humble and looking at, when I was in scarcity selling mode, what results is it producing? If it's producing the results I want, cool, then that means I should keep doing it. But if it's not producing the results I want and it wasn't, there's got to be a different way. Even though my belief systems and my ego are telling me this is the only way to get there because that's what I've known. So I started studying top producers and I think this is so important with coaching and mentoring because I firmly believe in it. Obviously, it's what I do. It's what Ian does. But I would start to look at people who not only had the results that I wanted, but also had the energy and the way of being that I wanted. Because you can outcompete, force, hustle your way to the top, but that's still scarcity selling, and you're going to get there. And that's when people have health crises, they have things fall apart in their life. It is never enough. So I want to learn from people who have great results and have the sales and financial results that I want, but also seem to be happy and have a great, for me, family life is important. So have a great family life and they're healthy. And what's their energy and what is their way of being when they are running their day? I love how Ian broke down, just bringing your top performance to everything you do throughout the day and just really focusing on what am I putting in? Because that is what we can focus on. So I would study okay, if I was studying Ian, it would be okay, how does he show up? What's his energy? Is he generous? Right. Because that was something I had to recondition. Generosity wasn't something I was really conditioned with growing up. And I wanted to be so bad, but I had a lot of limiting beliefs that I was going to get taken advantage of, or there wasn't enough money. And I had to look and be well, is that getting me the results I want? Or go ahead, Ian. You're there's stuff you want to say this, but yeah.
I'm just dying right now because you're right. It's you actually have to be a good person to be a good salesperson. And I know it sounds kind of cliche, but what I mean is you have to care about others in a way that is bigger than just you. And I think I didn't, honestly. I think I didn't. I think I cared about myself. I think I cared about my family, but I didn't genuinely care about my customers being successful. I cared about them signing on the dotted line.
Yeah.
And that's a big shift now in my program. I mean, it's just I really freaking care about helping salespeople. Yes, make more money. Okay, whatever. That's not what I care about. What I care about is helping them feel good about themselves and helping them get to a place where they are the person that they've always wanted to be. People talk about manifesting a lot, and manifesting is a big buzzword or whatever. And I got interviewed a couple days ago on what is manifestation 2.0. And think of manifestation 1.0 as I want this beautiful home and I'm going to manifest this thing that I want. And I'm going to get to this thing, this future state of having these things. And it can work if you put in the work. You can't just wish something, obviously, but genuinely, if you watch The Secret or if you watch any of anything on manifestation, it's about having vision, visualizing it and looking at that every day. So you know kind of what you're working towards, but it definitely is a future. This is what I want my life to look like. Whereas manifestation 2.0 is, this is the person I want to become.
Mm.
And if you think about that, you have that opportunity every day. In other words, what I do every single day is going to determine how I feel at the end of the night. Did I show up living my values? Did I show up with integrity? Did I show up in service? Did I show up working hard when no one's watching? So that's, to me, what really I work on when I coach people is, how do you want to show up? What kind of person do you want to be? And how are you now? And if you can kind of bridge that gap, again, it doesn't matter. The neediness goes away because you don't need anything. Because ultimately what we need is to become the person we've always wanted to become, versus watching ourselves do these things that we know are not with integrity with who we want to be. So that's what I talked about with like manifestation 2.0, because ultimately, if you show up as the best version of yourself every day, Monday to Friday, the results are inevitable. It just doesn't, it doesn't work any other way. What happens though, typically is, people get frustrated. They're overwhelmed. What am I going to do? I have this big list and I abandon ship. I don't want to prospect right now. How am I going to hit my number? And they just get overwhelmed and it's like they're defeated, right? Versus, no matter what happens, these are the things I'm going to do today. This is specifically my goals. And regardless of how I feel, I'm going to show up. I'm going to do it anyway, versus letting that feeling of overwhelm or anxiety overtake them. And now they actually don't do the behaviors that they wanted to do. So if you think about kind of mindset, right? In terms of, I'm a huge practitioner of Stoicism, and I read the Daily Stoic every day. And it's just something I live my life by. The way we think about something, let's say quota, I got a big quota, determines how we feel, okay? And how we feel determines our actions. And our actions, okay, determine our results. And so if you feel like, oh my God, this quota is too big, I'm never going to hit it, I'm going to feel anxiety. I'm going to feel overwhelmed. And the way I'm going to be working and my action is going to reflect that. It's going to be a place of desperation. Whereas if I take that same, I got a big quota and no one's hitting their number, okay, which may be the case for some places, and I take that same thing and say, this is a challenge. This is an opportunity. I got to get better. I got to grow from it. And if I hit this, I'm really going to stand out from everyone else in a tough market. Now I'm motivated. I'm inspired, and my actions reflect that. I show up with even more intensity, with even more excitement. So it's the exact same situation, but the way two people can interpret it is, one is scarcity, fear-based, oh shit. The other is, this is an opportunity for me to grow and get better and inspiring. So I just, again, what you're saying really resonates, because it starts with how you think and what you care about. And so, yeah, I just want to provide that context, because that's where everything starts, right? Is your thoughts about a situation. So you got to catch yourself, what story you're telling yourself, what beliefs you have, because that's going to determine how you act. And if you act in the wrong way, you're not going to get the results, and it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy, and vice versa. If you act in the right way, it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah. I love that so much. Literally all of it stems from your belief systems, which by the way, were given to you and you can change them. So I think that's so important. I'm so agreeing with what Ian said, because this is to go back to the manifestation 2.0, which I like that phrase. You don't get what you want, you get what you are. So you can say, I want to hit this sales result. I want to hit this. Are you a match for it? And this is where people get it messed up, because they're like, oh, I'm going to manifest this. I'm going to sit on the couch. I'm going to visualize it and see it. And to Ian's point, that maybe occasionally, right? Occasionally, but it won't last. So if you want to create true lasting change in your results, you have to become a match for it. And that means, what are your thoughts about what you're doing? What are your feelings? And then what are the actions? So this is something I have my clients do, and I do it for myself too, because it literally is. And I love how you said, it's like the real gift, the real prize is becoming someone who you're really proud of. and
That's right.
becoming
Right.
someone that's actually the gift. You think that what you're going for is the money. You think that what you're going for is the sales numbers. The actual thing that you are going to be so elated with is who you transform into when you start focusing on being a match for what you want. And so just keep a note on your phone. This is something I do. And I have old personality versus new personality. And I'll look at, all right, what's my goal that I'm going for? And then what are the thoughts, feelings, and actions of someone who would have that goal manifested in their life? And this is part of the value of coaching and mentoring is like, this is why I invest in the coaches I work with. I want to know how they think. I don't want them to give me a secret strategy necessarily. I want to know how they think because I want to learn to model my thoughts off of theirs, because I know if I can learn to think in the right way, to Ian's point, I'm going to feel differently. And then I'm going to take different actions, which will get me a different result. But I want to be very aware of what are the thoughts, feelings, and actions of someone who has that abundant result in their career, in their sales. And then I also want to be very self-aware. So this is this concept in neuroscience called metacognition, where we become aware of our thoughts. And this is something that's so important is just because you think a thought, it doesn't mean it's true. When you realize this, that your thoughts stem from your belief systems, most of which you were given from the age of 0 to 7, when you didn't have an analytical function in your brain to be able to determine, is what I just heard true? Is it true that money doesn't grow on trees? Is it true that scarcity is real? Is it true that little girls should be seen and not heard? Is it true that big boys don't cry? Are these things actually true? You didn't have the ability to decipher, so you picked up a bunch of junk growing up is the bottom line. You were in a hypnotic brain state. You picked up a lot of beliefs that aren't actually true. So this is where mindfulness, meditation, consciousness, learning to identify, is that thought of scarcity true? Is it really true? Or is it in alignment with someone who has the result that I want? And we want to get aware and start writing down, what are the thoughts that I'm thinking on repeat every single day? What are the feelings that I'm feeling on repeat every single day? Anxiety, fear, overwhelm. Your body actually gets addicted to those feelings, and it will kickstart thoughts to trigger the feeling, the chemical feeling, because it's addictive, it's cortisol. And then what are the actions I'm taking every day that aren't in alignment with someone who has that result? And then daily, it's how can I get a little closer to being a match for the person who has the result that I'm looking at? So I review this almost every day, old Elise versus new Elise, because I'm constantly evolving and changing, just like you are. And in that process, when you focus on just becoming a match for what you want, and that match is someone who's generous, abundant, leans back, non-attached on sales calls, puts their focus on their work ethic and what they're doing every day, the results will naturally shift. So Ian, we can keep going, or if there's anything you want to add on to that.
Yeah, I want to just kind of pull on this point. And again, it's like John Wooden has a great quote. He says this, and I use this a lot. It's success is the peace of mind in knowing that you're doing everything you can to become the best you're capable of becoming. Okay, that's what it is. And when you do that, the attachment goes away, because you're going to realize, oh man, I have a lot of work to do. I can be a little kinder to my spouse. I can be a little more disciplined with my time. Wait a minute, I need to get organized. And it's like you are constantly identifying areas that you can improve and grow in. And again, when you're constantly getting better and constantly working on yourself, your skills get better, your engagement gets better, your time management gets better, everything gets better. So it does start with actually working on yourself. And I didn't think we would go here. I thought we'd just talk about what the selling looks like, but it really is that's the first step, is you got to look in the mirror, right? And say, why am I a scarcity-based seller? Well, it's because I'm attached to this external thing. And I'll just share this. I think I probably can give this to, I don't know if I can give this out. I might be able to. If I can, I will. This is, just to kind of share a quick story. Back in 2020, okay, I had started a coaching business. It was going well. And I had a baby, and I also got into recovery. And like by every measure, like I was really successful in that sense. Like I overcame some demons. I saved my marriage. I had this beautiful boy, and life was so beautiful. And then I go on paternity leave and I come back and I'm staring 50% of quota with only a quarter to go. It was like, oh shit. And then boom, that imposter syndrome took over. It's like, I'm not worthy. If I don't hit my number, I'm going to fail. And I literally was so close to quitting just to do my coaching business because I didn't want to face the possibility of failing. And I was in therapy at the time, and I told my therapist this, and I told some mentors this, and I said, should I quit? And when I was quitting, and my reason for wanting to quit was so I can leave on a high note. I could leave over plan without, missing or facing the possibility of missing my quota. Because God forbid I could coach and be a successful coach without being a top performer, right? That was my limiting belief. And that's when I knew I had to face my fear. Okay. And I went back because I said, if I'm really going to teach and coach that you're more than your number, I need to face risking missing my number. So here's what I did. And it was very hard to do, but I said, I am going to leave nothing on the table. I am going to stop my coaching business. I'm going to just be laser focused on this one goal because I want to leave with my head held high, saying I did all I can. I don't want to leave in a place of fear. I want to leave in a place of confidence. Regardless of what happens, I'm going to have a story to tell. If I miss it, I'm going to be able to sell, you know what? I was okay. I didn't die. I still feel good. And if I made it, I can tell a story of, hey, if you focus, if you're laser disciplined, if you really want something, you're going to get it. If you make that one thing, your one thing. So either way, I got a story to tell. And every single day, I looked at a 12-week vision. I had 12 weeks to sell $1 million, and I wrote it down. And it was, I will build the muscles of commitment and self-discipline, which help me understand and inspire others for my coaching business. See, it wasn't about hitting the number. It was about doing the thing I didn't feel like doing. It was about facing my fear. It was actually about risking not, getting my worth from my numbers. And I said, I will grow, learn, and have a powerful story to tell from this experience, no matter the outcome. I will lean directly into my fears every day by doing what's uncomfortable. And here we go, the big commitment. I will sell $1 million in 12 weeks and finish over plan my last year in Salesforce. And I said this every single morning. And then I had a whole entire plan around it, right? In order to do this, I will prioritize Salesforce, plan and execute every day, say no to bad habits and distractions. And I said this affirmation, and I want to say it really, really powerfully. And it was this every morning. Today, I will give it my all because when I'm all in, there's no such thing as losing. Giving me my all means feeding my focus, starving distractions, staying positive, and focusing on the output rather than the outcome. So this ended up leading to me selling 1.1 million in 12 weeks. And it was all about becoming the person who shows up as the version of me that can actually sell $1 million. So it's not like, oh, this is what I need to do. It's all about, again, having a plan. I put together a plan. What was I going to do week by week to get there? And literally, I had a 12-week plan. I practiced my first 12-week year, which is a great system that I now implement with my coaching program. And it started with the vision. And it's all, again, about how can I show up where I leave nothing on the table? And that's a person who sets goals, who has the plan, who has the discipline, who executes. And when you do that, you cannot feel bad. You can't lose because you've done all you can. And that's what life is all about. And when you're doing that, okay, that is abundant selling. It's, I'm going to show up the best. I'm going to show up working hard in service of my clients, showing up every day, facing myself, right? And I did. And I'm sorry, but I see it over and over again. I see it with the hundreds of clients that I coach. They do this and the results come. And know where they come from? Usually they come from somewhere you least expect it. Some lead came out of nowhere, some opportunity that you didn't think was going to close resurfaces. But God always rewards you when you show up with integrity, work really hard, and do the right thing. You get rewarded. You get that aha, pat on the back. Yes, you get your number. Yes, you hit it. Okay. But it's hard to do that. It's hard to do that. What I'm talking about, it's not easy to show up every day. I get that. That's why, again, mentors, coaches exist. That's why environment of other people to lift you up, to help you during these times of doubt. So anyway, I just want to share that story because it's so relevant to everything you're saying, Elise, and it really does make all the difference. Because at that point, there's no such thing as losing when you get to that place where you've done all you can.
So good. Oh my gosh, it's so good. There's so many people inspired in the chat right now. Wow. Do
Good.
we, Ian,
That's the
do we want
goal.
to open it up? Yeah, no, that's incredible. Do we want to
Yeah.
open it up for some questions and talking? I
Yeah.
think live coaching. Are you up for if we have people raise their hands and we can?
If you could, yeah, if you can raise your hand in the chat, Lisa and I
Yeah.
will coach any questions you have for the next 12 minutes or so, and then
Yeah.
we can go from there. Yeah, it's intense because I feel very passionately
Love
about
it.
it.
Yeah. And I
It's the
think that
goal in life. It is the goal in life. It's all that matters. It's the only thing that matters in life is getting to be the person you've always wanted to be. And it's an everyday job, brother and sister. It's an every single day job.
yeah. And you can switch it in an instant. I think that's what's so powerful too about what you're saying here, Ian, is like, if you're listening to this and you're like, man, I haven't been showing up that way, just decide you're going to do it now. Decide you're going to start now. Like, what would that energy be like? What would that intensity be like for me to start to bring into the things I can control every day? And what would the rest of today, you got rest of Friday, what would that look like for you?
That's
right. And have fun with it. Does anyone want, so we've got some questions in the chat, which we can go through. Does anyone want to come off mute and share a question or be coached? I think this is a really good opportunity. Take advantage of it. There are no bad questions. If you have a question, somebody else does. I promise you, it's going to help somebody else by you asking a question. Awesome. Daniel, I see you've got your hand raised. Let's have you come off mute.
Thanks, Liz. I really admire your work. I've been following you, and I'm going to be completely honest. This is my situation. I joined the company. I received an underperforming team. I turned it around. Then I was up for a promotion. I'm a sales manager to a director. It didn't come because we got switched. I was going to be promoted to senior sales manager. I wasn't put up for nomination by my director. She had other thoughts. I feel like doors are closing in. My team started to underperform because our quotas got really increased this year. So I feel I'm in scarcity. That's why I'm here. And I don't know how to turn it around right now.
You go first, Ian.
All I heard was external, my friend. I heard doors are closing. I didn't get the promotion. My manager had other thoughts. You're already in that space of negativity where I'm screwed. I'm a victim. And the question is, how do you turn that into an opportunity? How do you say, this is going to make me hungrier? And I don't need that validation of a promotion. I don't need that. I'm here to serve my team. I'm hearing it's all about you, but your team is underperforming. As a leader, your job is to make your team successful. And it feels like you're making it more about you. So I'd say reframe, how can I do the right thing, which is show up for my team? Because if you're showing up, making it about you and your promotion, your team is going to suffer. The culture of the team is the behavior of the leader. And so I'd say this is an opportunity to say, none of that matters. My team is struggling right now. How can I be of service to them and make it not about me? And that's what an abundant leader is going to be doing in situations versus making it about you. That's kind of what I'm hearing right now, is just take the focus off yourself and really, your team is underperforming. What do they need? How can I help them? Versus my quota is too big. My managers didn't get the promotion, and it's going to change everything. Just how can I be of service and make my team successful? That's my number one job. It's not about me.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ian.
Elise, you want to add to
No,
that?
I love that. I would completely agree. And I think just a mindset shift, you've probably heard this, like the setback is the setup. So for anyone you meet or encounter who has any level of success that's remarkable, they went through an experience where it looked like everything was against them. And they had to decide in that moment, what am I going to make this mean? And so I think something that's a really powerful opportunity, and this is something I say to myself whenever it feels like stuff isn't going right, it's like, I'm thrilled this is happening because, I'm thrilled this is happening because, and then I make myself write a list. Why am I thrilled this is happening? Okay, I'm getting to develop resilience. I'm getting to, whatever it is, right? I'm getting to expand and learn more about abundance, and make that list to start to shift the energy into why this is actually positive for you. And then to that point, what's the outcome that you want? What's the outcome? If you could have it any way, what's the outcome that you want? And then how do you become a match for that? right? So make that list. What are the thoughts? What are the feelings? What are the behaviors of someone who is going to have that outcome? And if you go all in and you do that and it doesn't happen the way that you think, it is literally because there is something better. That's all it is. When we're showing up in that energy that Ian has talked about today, but something doesn't happen the way that we want, it is only and always because there's something better for you.
Right.
But this is how I would approach it. So
Yeah, it's happening for you, not to you.
Mhm.
It's a good
Mhm.
reframe. It's happening for you, not to you. There's a reason you didn't get the promotion, right? And the minute you take ego and like step outside of yourself,
Yeah.
you'll realize like it's so you can serve your clients. Your clients need you, right? Your AEs need you. It's happening as an opportunity for you to grow, essentially. Because whenever bad shit happens, that's a growth opportunity. And it's not bad shit. It ends up being great shit. It ends up being the best thing that could have happened, but you don't see it in the moment when you're just, again, this is happening to me. No, it's happening for you. The problem is the gift. The problem is the opportunity. Again, and it takes every day absorbing content, right? Mental toughness mantras, stoicism, faith, the way of the wise, you have to ingest every single day so you can have this mindset. Because if you're going at it alone, yeah, the world's against you, right? That's the thing. But when you're in a place of abundance, it's all for you. It's totally different. Whatever happens is for me. That's the way I look at it. If it's not good, it was not meant to be, right? And it's probably going to lead to something else. So thank you for that, Elise. Akil, is that the pronunciation?
Akil.
Did I get that
Hey
right?
Ian, hey Elise,
Hey.
how's everybody doing?
Good to see you. Welcome.
Yeah, I like
Thank
your
you.
background. Way
Thank
to
you.
go.
I appreciate that. Blue is one of my favorite colors. But my question for you guys is, to be honest, I'm not in sales. I used to be, but I believe sales and whatever career path that we do choose, you are selling yourself. So my question is, how do you keep a positive mindset, even though when things are, kind of stressing you out at work and you want to get to the abundance?
Mhm. Mhm. I'll take it first if that's cool. I think
Yeah,
the
go for it.
biggest, I think it's some of what we talked about. What are you looking at? What are you focusing on? Because there's two sides of everything, right? So there's things we can look at and say, that's really hard, that's tough, et cetera. Or you can look at what's the good in it, right? So like I'll just share like really like in our family right now, in the past 4 weeks, we've had a lot of transition. Ian knows about, some of my clients who are here know about this. Lost our dog. And my husband unexpectedly had to move up to Maine, and I'm here with the boys on my own, and we're doing the transition. And there's been things that have felt really hard, like really hard. And because I know what I know, which is what we've talked about today, it's been like, what's the blessing? What's the gift? I'm being strengthened. Man, it's like, I know where I'm going. It's bigger opportunity, bigger stages, bigger platforms. I need to be a stronger person in order to be able to do that. So I focus on that. How am I being strengthened right now? Man, this is a gift. Thank you so much. Wow. Grief feels really hard, but I get to focus on how much I got to love my dog before we let her go. Right. Like it's like all of that. So what are you focusing on? And if you have a specific you want to talk through, we could like coach you on that, but it's all about what side of the stick are you focusing on with the situation?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because right now, I've kind of changed my life a little bit in every aspect. I'm getting up earlier in the day, just trying to, conquer the day, getting up around like 7 o'clock instead of like 9 o'clock. And basically making sure I work out in the gym like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so my body's in a good place, eating healthy with like salads and vegetables and fruit. And then, I'm even applying to go back to school to earn my master's degree. So, I want to be at a certain place in my life where, there is abundance. Right now I'm kind of getting by just fine and everything, which is cool. But sometimes for, a lot of us, even though that's not enough, we want more out of life. And that's kind of where, where I am right now. But while trying to keep that positive mindset, because I'll catch myself, oh, don't say that, we wouldn't keep it positive. We're not gonna, say anything negative. So I really want to stay on the brighter things of life. And at least what you're saying about, counting your blessings, I think that's really important. Just being able to account for everything and say, hey, it's not that bad. It's actually pretty good right now. Family is super important. Faith, like Ian, you're talking about, pray like twice a day. As soon as I get up, I'm praying. As soon as I go to sleep, praying. That's all we can do.
That's all you can do, man. I mean, you just have to look at what you are doing. You're applying to get your master's, you're going to the gym, you're eating healthy, you're going to start feeling better. The key is to stay the process, right? Let those habits solidify and ingrain and become who you are. And then you could add more to it, right? You could, continue to stack what you're doing, because now you have trust with yourself, and your confidence comes from keeping your word to yourself. So it sounds like you have a lot of really good things going. So kudos to you.
I love that. Yeah.
Thank you,
Built-
guys.
Go ahead.
I was just saying thank you.
Yeah. Elise, I know we only have 5 minutes. I don't know if you wanted to take one more, if you wanted to talk about what we're going to abundantly offer. everyone in this
Yeah.
group.
Let's you and I talk about how people can go deeper with us if they want to. And then if we have time for another at the end, I think that's great. Yeah.
Perfect.
You want to go first?
Sure. So
Awesome.
I've been actively promoting this, but I have a coaching program where it could be online coaching, it could be group coaching, or one-on-one coaching. And it's been massively impactful for my clients. They are getting great results in a tough market in terms of selling this way. And for people that want to go deeper and want to learn how to embody not only an abundant selling mindset, but also all the right habits and all the skills that you need to accompany that, my Untap Your Sales Potential right now is open for enrollment. It's enrolling through the end of this month. It is nearly full. So as in the spirit of abundance, for anyone who attended this call or registered, what I'm going to be doing is, for the first time, actually helping make it a little easier for people to afford my coaching programs, because it is only a couple days away before we close enrollment. So I put the link in the chat, and I'm having a coupon code for anyone in this program. Any option you choose, whether it's group, one-on-one, online, or any of the payment options, the coupon code is going to apply. The coupon code is abundant. Okay, abundant. And if you put that into any of the offers at the bottom of the page, depending on what level of coaching you want, it'll take 15% off of either the annual rate or the monthly rate. And so we are closing it out. We are making a push to fill up the program. So if you are serious about bettering yourself, this is a life-changing opportunity. I'd love to support you, and hopefully I can see you there. So use that code and get 15% off, and we can work together in a more extended capacity. Back to you, Elise.
That's amazing. That's amazing. It's such a great opportunity to be in Ian's energy and get that experience. Yeah. And I'll share too on our end. And it's funny, when we planned this, we didn't plan to like have stuff going on necessarily behind the scenes where you can engage with us further, but it just so happens that both Ian and I have something going on. So we just wanted to give you the opportunity to go deeper if you want. So we just launched the first ever, I'm so excited, group program called Meet the $1 Million You. So having gone on the journey myself of going from being a 6 to a 7-figure earner, it is so fun and so powerful to become the version of you who makes 7 figures. And so this is also the first program we've ever done that traditionally we do programs for women. This is for everyone. So women, men, all of it, gender doesn't matter. And it's an 8-week immersive journey for you to tap into what's the mindset of a 7-figure version of me, what's the energy, and then what are the actions. And we're actually doing tactical strategy to help you scale to multi 6 and 7 figures in your sales and revenue too. And it's really fun. And we're having a great time. We kicked off this week, but you can still 100% get in. And we've got a code as well for $500 off. So I will put that in the chat.
Put the link to the enrollment too, if you have it.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Website.
And the code is Million VIP. Yeah, you get lifetime access to recordings. So if you jump in now, you'll have access to everything we did this week, and you can join us moving forward as well. And it's really powerful. So beautiful. We got 2 minutes. Do we have a question, a comment, a takeaway? Did anyone want to raise?
If anyone wants some more coaching, we can, but there are a couple questions in the chat that we can go through if you want. If no one else has a live question, there's 2 that I can read out. So
I have a live question. It's a little bit.
Okay, go for it. Let's do the live coaching. Go ahead, Abby.
Okay, different. And I asked this because Ian, I actually got the idea from you about managing fewer accounts, but focusing more on them. My question is, and I luckily have a really great company that is flexible with me, but you talk about revenue generating activities. I'm doing a lot of managing the client because our operations isn't totally up to scale and not as many revenue generating activities. Obviously, I need the client to have a good experience for me to be able to continue selling them additional things. So what advice would you give to a seller in an organization who's in a new role? It's custom created, and we're still sort of figuring out how to manage to that.
Simple, really simple. So if you're familiar with the Eisenhower quadrant or the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, there's a quadrant of where to spend your time. And what you're talking about is something that's not essentially either advancing, creating, or closing pipeline. With that being said, you got to get your clients healthy. Okay. And they're not going to buy more if they're not healthy. So I think where you're focusing is good, with this caveat: only if there's no customer success organization. You see, if you have a customer success manager or someone who's supposed to be doing that, and then you're taking over, you're actually doing a disservice, because you're not letting that person actually do what they're supposed to do. And if they're not capable or not good at it, then you're doing a disservice because you're not escalating to leadership to get the right resources to serve that customer. So that will depend. Some startups don't have that in place, but most big companies do. And what I see is reps take over and they, basically do the job of the success organization. And that's not your job. Your job is to quarterback and to lead and to make sure that your team is doing what they're supposed to be doing and escalating accordingly. So that would fall into the delegate in the 4 quadrants. Okay. It's urgent for the customers, and it's important for them, but it's not important for your core role. So you need to delegate anything that's urgent for other people, but not important for you. So there's these 4 quadrants: important and urgent, important, not urgent, not important and urgent, and not important and not urgent. So this would be a not important and urgent, because it's urgent for them to get healthy, not important for your category. Therefore, those things you delegate. So make sure your team is empowered to be successful, quarterback, hold them accountable, and escalate if needed. So you can get the right support if there's more resources needed or better people needed. That's your responsibility as a leader, to call that into attention for your leadership team.
Thanks, Ian. I don't know if you have anything else to add, Elise, but probably a little bit of that: delegate and remove control and allow things to maybe fail a little
Let
bit.
people do their jobs, and if they can't do it, then you're the person that makes the changes and makes people aware of the changes that need to happen to give this customer the service they need. So just reframe what your job is. That's how I would look at it. Elise, anything to add?
Amazing.
I think we're at time.
No, we're 2 minutes past. No, that was great. Thank you so much, everyone. This was so fun. We'll do another one of these. We're, I think, doing these quarterly. We're talking about doing it. So we appreciate all of you being here, and you're amazing. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you everyone so much. And Elise, thank you for co-hosting and
Same, my friend.
bringing this up. Great
This is
job,
great.
everyone. Take care.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.